So, I'm going to talk about K99s. Anyone know what? Is anyone thinking about a K99? All right, good. We got some people who are already thinking about K99s. These are great. These are great grants. What I think there's a couple of bottom lines I want you to remember is that the institutes have very different emphasis on funding these. Some of the institutes love them. Like I think the Institute for Nursing, I think, funds nearly 40 or 50% of them, which is amazing. And some are real stingy about giving out grants. So that's one bottom line. So if you're going to go for these, really look at the institute and see if you can choose the institute or direct it to the one which is going to give you the highest percentage of possibility of getting funded. It's a big deal. The other nuances I'll sort of go through as we talk about the grant. The other nice thing about this grant is you can be a foreigner and have a K99, be awarded a K99. You have to do the research in the US, but you can be awarded a K99 if you're a foreigner, if you don't need a green card. So you just need to be doing the research in the United States. So it's a rare grant like that, and it might be applicable to a few of you. So the way it works is there's 1 to 2 years of mentored research and then 3 years of independent research. And this is where, you know, the problems can happen, because those 3 years of independent research, you need a job. And you need an independent job, right? And that can be a little tricky. There's a lot of trying to slide people into sort of job positions, and you know, NIH can get a little sticky about that. So we'll talk about that. But that's the grant is great, and it really is. I mean, I've been reviewing a lot of positions at UCLA these days, as you know, assistant professor positions, and people with K99s, you know, rise to the top because they know with the 3 years of funding, and you know, money's tight these days for giving out startup salaries and startup positions. So it's kind of a nice thing to have. And most people who get K99 have K99s usually get jobs after. You know, it's a very good ticket for a job. I've had some, you know, I've had some successes in the lab with K99s. I've had a couple of failures. Now I'm going to tell you, you know, as we go on, what the failures were and why I think they failed. Well, why I know they failed, because they've shared me the pink slips afterwards. Well, they're pink slips or whatever. They used to be pink slips. They're not pink slips anymore. Pink sheets, yeah. They used to be pink, but they're not pink anymore.
Because it was like 3 carbon copies.
Yeah.
And they would give you the third one. So now the pink sheets are no longer pink.
They're not pink. They're not pink.
Anymore. We still, as old people, we still call them pink sheets.
Yeah, it dates us.
Yes.
Okay.
Free computers.
So I think I've already said this, but it was said again. So it's, God, you can't hardly see it. I think I can do it. I've got this thing. That's nice. Is this? Okay. Do I need this? Can I just do this? I can do this, right? This is good. Okay. So yeah, we have the K99 portion, as I said, is 1 to 2 years. That's called the K99, and then this is R00, just like an R01. And, you know, this is a pretty decent grant. I mean, you get quite a lot of funding for this. You get your salary and a decent research budget. But this is kind of R01 type funding, so that's pretty nice. And for a person trying to go from, you know, postdoc to assistant professor, this is a great grant. you have to be, I think now they've changed it. It was 5 years after your, you could do 5 years postdoc. Now I think it's 4, at least in most institutes. So it could be 4 years. You can't be longer than 4 years after having your PhD or MD. So that may be a problem for some of you. But anyway, you have to look closely at the guidelines on that, but it's changed, at least for the institutes I know of, to 4 years. That you can play around with if you get pregnant. Or I'm not sure if you're a guy, if you look after kids, you can get away with it, but I know if you can, you should be able to. You can extend it with circumstances if you talk to your project officers, and that's sort of important to know. Let's see. So I put the guidelines here. I think they're still up to date, and there's some question and answers stuff here, so that's some information. I think this all goes up on the webpage, so you can, copy and paste whatever you need to do. Okay, so as I said, it will support non-US citizens, but you have to be in the US to conduct your all phases of the training program. You can't, do your K99 and then get a job in Spain and take your take your money there. US don't like that. You can be almost have any of these degrees and apply. And as I said, it's no more than 4 years after your postdoc research. So it used to be 5 when we first started, but now it's 4. And that can be extended for these reasons: pregnancy, parenting, military service, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Do they consider clinical training to be the same thing as postdoctoral research experience?
I think they're counting it the time after you've got your degree. I think the clinical training would count. Yeah. That's my understanding. Now, if you take a leave of absence, I think that's the case. But I know clinical training isn't really research and giving you the information you need. I understand that, and I'm not sure about that question. I don't know, but I would think it would count.
My estimate would be yes.
Yes, I think
That would be fine.
But you
Because they count.
Because all surgical specialties have longer than 4 years.
Yeah, so it may be for surgeons, there are some exceptions. So if you are a surgeon, that the same thing that surgeons have 50% time requirement for the K08 or K23, maybe there's an issue for K99 for surgeons. I don't know that.
I'm not sure about that. I'm a PhD kind of guy, so I'm sorry. So I'm not familiar with all of that, but that's a good question. And if you find the answer, can you email me so I can include it next time? If it's a no or a yes, that'd be good to know. Yeah, go ahead.
Based on your question, is this designed really for? I know you mentioned obviously MD and all the other degrees there, but really more for postdocs, or is this all for clinicians who have finished the training program now and are now an assistant professor? It seems like that this is really not geared towards that.
It's designed more for the classical researcher, I would say.
Basics.
Yeah, the basic classical research track. Well, it could be translational research, but if you had an MD, PhD, and you wanted to focus on research, and and you decided that you weren't so good at clinical stuff and you don't really care about it, but you're really excited about studying autism or something, and you want to do this. This would be a great tool to get an MD, PhD. But if you want to sort of balance the clinical and the research, and it's sort of a half-time research, I think it's more difficult to get this kind of growth. To tell you the truth. Yeah.
Is having had a postdoc a necessary condition for eligibility for K99?
I mean, what do you mean, a classical postdoc? I think as long as you've done research. I mean, I think you'll need a research portfolio to be in any way competitive. I don't think you necessarily have to do a postdoc.
I think I read that you might.
Yeah,
I read in the directions that because I'm one of those people that are submitting through NINR, and my program director is the director of the K99R program for NINR.
Yeah.
And so when I was reading through, because Cedars doesn't actually have a postdoc for a neuroscientist, so our vice president asked me to write it. So then I can actually have that title in my application. So I think you may, but
Yeah, maybe that's institute specific as well. You know, I mean, it seems to me that the classification, I mean, you could be a research associate. Sometimes people are put straight into research associates. That would work. Whether you have to be actually defined as a postdoc, I'm not sure. I would be surprised about that. But is that a problem with you?
No, I'm just curious how much, what are we even eligible for this or not? Never had a postdoc. So.
I think that's a very specific question. You'd have to go to the project officer. I would be surprised. I mean, it's the research prowess which they're really interested in more than I think positions. I think if you didn't have it on your CV, I think most reviewers wouldn't care a damn. You know, it's how good you are at research and how much promise you have.
I think it probably depends on the institution too. They care more about what you're not.
Yes.
They care a lot more about that.
Yeah. Anyway, so you know, this is the bottom line. Check with your project officer, get all the facts, because these are complicated grants, and as I say, they do have this horrible part here, which everyone stresses about, who I know have K99s, getting this independent 10-year track or equivalent faculty position, because, you know, things are so damn competitive these days. I mean, we have like 300, 400 applicants for one position in psychology or in the basic neuroscience, and there's a lot of very, very good applicants, many science nature papers. You know, it's very competitive, and some of these guys are having trouble getting jobs. And so what the institutions do, well, you know, they try and help them out, they try and give them semi-positions, then they have to sort of argue with the NIH whether this is an independent position or whether it's not. So this is one of the downsides of this grant, is that without getting this position, the R00 is not going to happen. Okay? And as I say, it's getting tough. Which I mean,
Be optimistic.
well, I mean, I don't know if you guys looked at the recent statistics about depression in medical students. It's fucking horrible. A third of them are getting depressed. I mean, it's in JAMA. I mean, it's horrible. And graduate students, I mean, the whole system's pretty screwed up. And I hate it that everyone gets so stressed. But you're going through a career which is so much fun, you know. I hate it. Yeah, sorry. That's what I really think. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you know, the institutes are beginning to understand that there's problems, and they're giving people time to get jobs now. And I've heard a couple of people who have been given extensions and can help to get a job. So at least that's in NIDA, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen with all institutes. It makes this grant a little tricky, right? It makes it a bit tricky. In some ways, you might want to think about a K award and then get an R21 or an R grant, which you can take anywhere. It doesn't really matter how long you stay with the K, right? So, just think about the potential. But this is a great grant if you're really good at research. It's a great grant, and you think you're really competitive for an assistant professor position. This is a great grant. They will make you more competitive. Okay, so these are the participating institutes. Most of them support the K99 grants, but as I said, look carefully at the success rates. They vary from about 0 to 50% in the success rates. But so this is this will be on my slide, but you should look at the most recent data on this and look at your institute, which you're going to be applying for. Oh, wait a minute, there's one which is 100%, but I think there was only one applied. Okay, well, that makes sense. I mean, but this is the nursing, which is 60. So if you can fit your stuff in nursing, go ahead. Yay! Go nursing. It's a great way to go. So as I said, the different institutes are very different in their support of K99s. And so look at this data before you submit. And if you can choose between nursing and NINDS, I think this is NINDS, I'm not sure. And no, between 11% and 60% success rate, you know where you're going to go, right? I think that's one of the most important tips I'm going to give you. Okay, don't do that. Okay. So this is UCLA, but I'm just saying that this was our data that I got the last time I did this presentation, and I looked at the success rates and different of UCLA in the different institutes, and it went pretty much as to the national data. So some of them we did a little bit better, and some of them did a bit worse. But that's this is the data I collected from UCLA, K99 funded. We should get it for the whole of CTSI. I don't think we've got that data, but that would be nice to have. And this is the national data. And as I said, for the NCI, we only had one funded out of 7 apps, and NHLBI, we had 7 out of 18. So you just have a look and see what the percentage of success rate was, and it pretty much goes what you'd expect. So I would look at that data before you submit, at how supportive your institute is going to be before you go ahead. Okay, so I think this is all pretty obvious what the reviewers are going to be looking for. Unfortunately, a lot of reviewers are going to look at your heritage, what labs you were pulled up in. I'm not sure I like that. I'm a big supporter of people doing very well in crappy labs, as opposed to the people doing mediocrity in very good labs. I mean, when you're in a good lab, you get everything you want, and you get babysat. But those people, I think, I look for people who come from not so good labs, but do incredibly well. But I'm very unusual in that respect. Most people have the old boys network going, and they will look for people in Nobel Prize winners' labs and shit like that. I'm not a fan of that. But they will look for good publications in high-impact journals. So if a lot of people don't know, the reviewers may not know which of the high-impact journals in a particular area. So that's worth pointing out if you can. I mean, we have journals like Psychoneuropharmacology, and we have one called Neuropsychopharmacology. And there's a big difference. There's one of those impacts 17 and one of them's 4, right? But most people aren't going to know that. So sometimes you've got to educate the reviewers on what's a high impact versus a low impact journals, and that can be very important. Team science, everything's team science these days. If it's not, it's very rare it's not. So you've got to explain what you're doing in each of those programs. And with a new CV format, that's pretty easy to do, and to explain that's nice. So I explain it what your contributions are. Preliminary data, innovation, potential, impact of a research project. I think you've got to remember this is a training grant. You're not already trained. I've had students who have been declined K99s because they are overtrained. You've got to explain what you're going to learn. It's very important. And I've had better students get their K99s even though they were, they didn't have such high-profile papers. They didn't need so much training to do their work. And that K99 part is very important to explain why you need the training part. So don't ignore that. As I said, I've had a couple of students who have they've said, well, they don't need any training. Why don't they go and get a job? Okay, so they don't get their grant and then they're less competitive. So you've got to explain. So in this case, it's almost better to go into a new direction or an additional direction which needs your training, and explain that. So, you've been working on, the inflammation in the brain, and you've got some good papers and you want to carry on doing that stuff. Add something like transcript analysis or single cell transcript analysis. You need a new technique, which is going to add to what you're already doing. You want to learn it and then put that into your aims. So make sure you're adding to in that K99 part, and you've got good mentors for it. As I said, the training plan is very important. It's just as important as the research ideas. I just basically said that. Make sure you've got a really strong training plan. Reference letters. I think Carol was on about reference letters. Most people will need to get a draft, but try and make the draft different on each letter. That's what I try. Just try and make drafts different, and don't use phrases which you know are clearly copied. The training record of the mentor is going to be very important here. Definitely use co-mentors. We do that all the time. You need co-mentors, especially I sort of advise you do get one. You have your mentor, you've been working there for a couple of years as a postdoc, and to get somebody who's going to give you some additional things, some additional learning to enhance what you're doing is the way to go. So the training part is very important. Everybody sort of, I think, goes straight to the R00 part because that's what they really want their money for. They're doing their research. Yeah. Do they have to be? No, I don't think so. Now, I think you might get questions if they are that you have a sufficient interaction with them, because you can't spend your money over there and you've got you know, you've got your salary in the place you're at, but they don't, I don't think they have to be. You'd have to, you know, you're going to have to explain that. But I think they can be outside. Canada and Mexico, fine. You know, Iceland, maybe a little problem. Where? England, fine. I'm a Brit. I agree. Brits are always good, yeah. Yeah.
For spelling there.
But the other thing you might want to do is to make sure that it's a unique they're going to give you a unique vision of something. If there's a bunch of people in the same institute who could do the same thing, then, you know, I think you may get into trouble. But if they're providing something which is unique in the world, go ahead, go to England. Just don't stay too much in London. It's too expensive. Lots of weird things happen there. Okay. So, you know, well, I mean, this is old hat now. I mean, the last time I gave this talk, this was just coming into fruition, the new format, the new CV. I'm sure you're all very familiar with this now. You know, it's just make use of it, explain everything. I think it gives you more chance to explain what you are, and definitely remember to put this. This is all categories where you know what to do now, but definitely get this right. Download your whole bibliography, okay? And you can put whatever you want in this. You know, just put everything there. Make sure that's complete. I tend to, now I'm reviewing, I go straight to that. I use that, so I think everybody's going to be using it, and you can put a direct link in there, right? So make sure it's a direct link to, and it works. Make sure it works. It's a direct link. Works and direct link. Because I think you'll find that every reviewer is going to use that, okay? And make sure it's the right way round as well. Most recent first. And because, you know, it's easy to get it switched around. So I think that's important. Yeah. Yeah? Okay. So this is just where you get all the information. That's pretty straightforward. This is just all of the where you can. Well, this is all you're just going through all the different bits. I think all of this is pretty straightforward. I don't think I really have to go through this again. It just gives you, you know, what you have to do in the different parts of the grant. The resources. I mean, one of the problems. I mean, obviously, you're not going to know if you haven't got a job. You're not going to know the resources for your R00, so you're going to have to use the resources of the current place. And when you do your renewals, you're going to put this in. The biggest, as I say, the biggest problem with these K99s is getting that damn job. And once you've got this grant, that's what I'm worried about these days. I used to say this is the best grant you can possibly get because it gives you a leg up to get a position, but positions now are really getting tight. But most of you guys are, well, I'm sure some of you have MD PhDs. That gives you a big leg up. And if you can get one of these with an MD PhD, I think you'll be really flying. So, yeah. Your mentor statement, make sure they tailor it to the K99. You don't want them to be saying, you know, this is their project and they're going to carry on with it with you all the time. You want to be generating an independent person. They are allowed to take the stuff away. You might be collaborating with them afterwards, but it's their project. You're training someone to be independent. So make sure that they get that across. This is just going through the different parts of the grant. I've just got some little notes here about what they basically asked for on the different pages. I just basically copied this, so I don't think it's other than reading it, it'll help. Yes, in this case, the mentor has to do a lot of work. I mean, it's like a 5-page letter that the mentor has to write. And when I've done this with, because you have to write the training plans and you have to write a lot. So this is a lot of commitment for a mentor. They have to put a lot of work into it. And I can, if any of you are putting one in, I can share the letters that I've written. I'm quite happy to do that. But you really have to make sure that the applicant and the mentor have got the same stuff in their letters. Because I mean, it's easy to get out of sync. And so you really need to make sure the stories line up. And then the institutional commitment, that's usually pretty okay for the K99s because you're usually using the mentor. It's that getting the job, which is the problem. I mean, it may be that the institutional commitment is going to say that they're going to look after you anyway if you don't get a job for a year, so that they're really invested in trying to help you get a job. But it's kind of difficult, this grant, because the expectation is you're going to go somewhere else. That's what the expectation is. You're training someone and you're being sort of benevolent in some ways that person is going to be trained and then go away from your institution, right? So it's kind of different from a lot of other grants. You're not sort of training them to stay in your environment. You're being sort of benevolent and training them for the field and for the community. So it's a little different. The aims, obviously, you've got to be watching out for your being over ambitious. I've had problems both ways here. Being under ambitious and relying on everything you're doing at the moment, that you don't need anything to learn or to do anything new to cover the aims, that can be a problem. And being too ambitious, obviously. So you have to keep in that window of learning something new, which is going to add to what you've already done.
Question about that.
Yeah.
Are the aims all conducted within the R00 phase, or do you have an aim for your K99 phase?
No, usually you have. Usually you've got a project's ongoing, which you're building on, right? And one of your first aim sort of uses what you've got to do new stuff, and some of it's learning to bring in new technologies to make that stuff more powerful. So maybe it's genetics, maybe it's a new technique, and that learning is sort of incorporated in the K99 phase. But usually you've got experimental. Usually got parts of aims which are in that K99 part. Usually that's the case. And you're adding on to what you've already built on.
So
But it doesn't, I don't think it necessarily has to have an aim, which is, it could be just a learning aim. It depends on but I think most reviewers would like to see productivity coming out on your project in the years that you're still doing the training, in those 2 years. I mean, you don't want to suddenly have nothing, right? You don't want to just be learning. You want to be learning in the context of your experiments and building on what you've already produced.
So the first aim would kind of be a combination of a training and research.
That's what I would do, yes. You know, you have parts of the aim which require your new learning, okay?
Yeah.
And then that new learning, or the one aim would just be continuation of what you're already doing, and then the learning part would be in your next two aims, or your next aim that you do in the R00. That's the way I would do it. But you don't want to give the impression you're not going to be doing anything but learning in those 2 years. That's all, right? You want to have productivity coming out. Yeah. Yep. Oh, okay. There's all sorts of questions. That's good. Yes. Yes.
You don't really know where this will be.
That's right. That's right.
You have, and sometimes you're working in a field where you really rely on the resources. So how are you supposed to handle this? Like, for example, patient success.
You should be planning your grant, which goes in, has to be for 5 years. You've got to plan for 5 years. You can't just plan for your training part and then say, well, depending on what blah 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 happens, I'm going to go this way or this way or this way. You can't do
So
that.
you assume that you're getting a job that.
Yes. Sorry, you have to
No, that's fine.
plan. I mean, it's a 5-year grant, and you have to put all of your plans in that, and you have to assume you're getting a job which has the resources you need to carry on. So this is easy with basic science, but it's much more difficult if you have a clinical component or you have, specific needs. It becomes more tricky, right?
Sure, so it seems to me that the mentor letter is really where the meat comes in for helping to provide reassurance for, number one, resources. Like, for example, I study preterm delivery and preeclampsia, and so I'm doing non-invasive vascular testing now because I have an F31. And then I'm using that data, and we have amazing MRI technology here, so I'm going to be working with Dr. Lee in the magnet. So it seems to me that you would, even though you're supposed to jump around institutions, if the institution that you're at and the R component is going to be the magnet and we have the best mentors, then you don't necessarily, you can really put that into the mentor letter component potentially. Would that be strong, or?
I think you have to it has to be in the mentor letter, and I think they have to be committed to the R00 project in some ways, that they would support you in your R00 efforts.
Right.
And sometimes that's what I was saying, the institution should be providing you a cushion if you don't have a position, right? So they would be saying that they would support you to do this project. That's what I would ask from. Then you'll feel a little happier, a little less stressed, and I think that's very important because I think stress is doing us all in. So I'd like to see a little less stress. And not smoking marijuana all the time. Okay. I work on drugs and abuse. So okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of case history. How have we got now? We were early, weren't we? So what's dinner?
Into the time.
Yeah, well, we got plenty.
Yeah, we'll see.
You got 5 minutes.
Yeah, you got 5 minutes.
Oh, I've only got 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you some success stories and some which screwed up. This is Tim Brody. And Tim was he was at UCLA. He was a postdoctoral fellow, and he had some pretty high-profile learning and memory papers, and he decided that he would want to study learning and memory and plasticity in regard to drug abuse, because it's basically a problem with memory, right? If you can't remember anything, you're not going to be craving drugs. So you have to. It's a big plasticity question. So he used his knowledge in learning and memory to apply for a K99 to NIDA. NIDA was supporting about 40% of their applicants at that point. So it was a very good way of him getting money. Now, NIMH were supporting much less, maybe between 10 and 15%. So he chose NIDA, and he slanted it to learning a little bit more about drug abuse, and he was very successful. Now, as soon as he got his K99, he went to Australia. And he got a job in Australia. I mean, it helped him having the K99, of course, but he had to give up his K99 because he was in Australia, and he was very successful in Australia, and he's just moved back to one of our sister institutions. He's at UCI now, and he's in the department of, I don't know what department he's in actually, I can't think what department it is, but he's doing very, very well. So he's an example of somebody who looked at the stats, adjusted his research a little, and was able to get this K99 through, and he had some good papers in a different area. So he's an example. You have a question? You just okay. So, this was some of his, I was just trying to say, he had a good pedigree, worked with some good people, had good first author paper, his productivity wasn't great, medium to good impact, not NIDA obvious, but, he was able to squeeze it in through the NIDA program. Now, Kate, on the other hand, she had a pretty good pedigree. She had much better papers, many first author papers, many high consistent productivity, a very, very strong CV. She was on the interface of engineering, and she was the person I was talking about who was measuring glutamate. She made the sensors for glutamate. Lots of very, very high papers, and I think she had probably, this was her CV when she went in for the K99. She was denied it, and one of the reasons was that she stayed in UCLA all of her life. And I think this is an important. She did her undergraduate. She was staying in the same lab to do where she got her PhD to do her postdoc. So she didn't move around, even though there were different mentors, different areas. She got dinged for that, and she also got dinged for basically not learning new stuff. Okay, that's what she got dinged for, and I think this is her. She let me use this. She did let me use this. So you can read this. And this is the kind of things they were saying. Training does not really appear to add to the applicant's already extensive abilities, right? No new stuff. I want new stuff to read. If you want new stuff. The area of addiction training was difficult. Okay, so in the case of addiction training, and so the other thing was the similarity, because Nigel and Bernard Verlaine, they worked together. And it was kind of looked like it was kind of an incestuous sort of training. So there wasn't anything new. So again, it does not seem appropriate for a K99. The applicant is continuation of training rather than seeking new opportunities. See, I want to make sure that your training part is really important. just not a continuation of what we're already doing. Okay, I think I have one more. These are kind of fun. Okay, Amina was successful. And Amina has now got an assistant professor position in the University of Illinois. She was interesting. She had a pretty good pedigree. She was, I think, 5.5 years outside of her postdoc, but she had kids. So she was one of these people who got the brought out a pregnancy card and used it, and she was able to get an extension, and she just got it under the wire. We're still publishing papers together. Her CV was okay, not stellar. She had during her graduate program, she a lot of experiments didn't work, but she's now in a very successful career and she's doing very well. As I say, she was a foreigner. She was a Canadian citizen, so she was not an example of a Canadian citizen, but she was doing all of her work in the US. And she's been, as I say, she's been very successful since, and now it's the University of Chicago. So, good luck with putting these things in, and I think that's about it. That's any questions. I'm quite happy to entertain. Okay.